David Menzies for Rebel News here in Vaughan, Ontario, and I'm with Odelia Capone, and she is a resident of Tel Aviv, and she was recently flying from Israel to Canada with a stopover in Italy, and that's where things went off the rails. This is perhaps a story about having your paperwork perfectly in order, because even if it's a quick 10-minute fix, if you come across somebody with an airline or some airport official that doesn't want to help you, they can make your life miserable. So Odelia, tell us, we're going back to July 29th. You and your husband and 3 children are flying from Tel Aviv. You land in Rome, and then what happens?
When we landed there, we had an overnight stay. The following day, we arrived at the airport to continue to Toronto. And when I asked, I actually have my child, one of the 3 kids is on the spectrum. And I had asked to be in like a sort of faster line so that we don't have to wait, so long in the lineup at the check-in at the counter. And so when they asked me, so they actually put me in a family line. It's called a family line. And that line just was not moving. And we were there for much longer than the actual regular line.
Okay.
And so we were standing there for a very, very long time. And which was unfortunate because that really took away from our time there. And then eventually when my turn came, they were just, I was wondering why they weren't taking our luggages, and they weren't accepting my luggage, and they were just talking amongst themselves and just making us wait. And I was waiting and waiting, and I said to them, at one point, I said, can you please, tell me what's the problem here? Why is this taking so long? And then, they informed me that one of my kids' one of my kids' ETA is no longer valid,
And Odelia, ETA stands for Electronic Travel Authorization. I got to tell you, until we had our conversation off air, I'd never heard of such a thing. But it's not the passport. All the passports were perfectly fine. And you informed me that in the space of maybe 5 to 8 minutes, this can be easily updated on a computer, this Electronic Travel Authorization. But for whatever reason, the airport employee, he didn't care, did he?
No, he didn't seem to care. He never even offered me, he could have said, it really does take up to 10 minutes maximum. And that's how long it actually took me eventually when I did do it afterwards.
Okay.
It took me maybe at the most 10 minutes. And he, I think he could have said, why don't you step aside and, let's try to get it done as fast as we can so that we can get you on this flight.
Right. He held you up so long that you ended up missing your flight, and that incurred a hefty expense by staying over in Rome, didn't it?
Oh yes, over and over and over. I had to, as opposed to being there for one night, we were there for maybe 4 or 5 nights altogether, which ended up costing me an arm and a leg. Really, I was not expecting.
That must have been in the thousands of dollars then.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, but wait a minute. Again, as you demonstrated yourself, it was 10 minutes to update this.
Right.
Why is it 3, 4, 5 days you're stuck in Rome?
Because all he basically did for me was, and I said to him, can you please try to, get me on the next flight, or can you try to help us out here? And he says to me, well, you're going to have to, do that yourself. And he handed me over a business card to contact the airline. And I said to him, well, I don't even have a way to, I don't have a phone plan. Like I wasn't planning on just spending so much time here. How do I call them? Can you please call them for me? And he says, no, you're going to have to, call them yourself.
Wow.
So I had to end up, so we were all really upset and exhausted. It was very draining, like the whole process. We spent hours upon hours at the airport. And we just watched them basically close the counter on us. And I just can't believe that, we were denied boarding just because, he could have just said, listen, let's step aside and try to get this done as fast as you can. And we can get you on, on the flight. If you would have done that, then I assure you, I would have been on the we would have been on the flight, and I wouldn't have had to spend 4 or 5 nights in Rome after thousands of dollars later.
Have you reached out to the airline, and if so, what have they said?
Yes, I definitely have reached out for it. So I had to. So after I was denied boarding, and after all that entire ordeal, I had to purchase a phone plan so that I'd be able to contact the airline, because he was not being so helpful and was not reaching out to them for me.
Okay.
So I had to do it myself. So I did get a phone plan, and I called them myself. I explained the situation, and they didn't seem to care so much. And I even asked them. I explained the situation. I said, my son is he's really upset by all this, and we really need to get it on. Just get me on another flight. She really did not seem to care. So I said to her, can I please speak with a supervisor? And she put me on hold, and she came back to say that a supervisor will not speak to me. There's nothing really that can be done. They refused to let me speak with a supervisor. I was shocked. I said, gosh, at least let me speak with a supervisor. I think I'm entitled to that. I'm a client who just spent thousands of dollars on 5 tickets,
Yes.
And so they wouldn't even let me speak with a supervisor.
And Odelia, what is it that you're seeking? Is it an apology, or would it be kind of nice if maybe you got compensated, at least partly, for those thousands of dollars you had to spend while trapped in Rome?
Right. So I would definitely really like, apology would be nice, of course. And I would definitely like to be compensated, because not only did those 5 tickets go to waste, I had to end up purchasing 5 extra tickets that cost me more than the initial 5 tickets through them as well.
Wow. Do you feel like you're being pressed into a situation where you have to proceed with litigation?
I definitely am considering it. Yes, we are considering it. Yes.
Okay, then. Well, you know what? It's a dreadful story. And again, folks, I go back to what I said in the premise that when you are flying, don't give anybody who has a little control over your lives any excuse to make air travel even more miserable than what it is. And by the way, I do feel Odelia's pain, because I did reach out to the spokesman for Air Transat. That would be Andrian Gagne. I had several questions about Odelia's treatment. And at time of deadline, guess what? Radio silence. I guess that's how they roll. Hey folks, I know you love it when Rebel News tells you the other side of the story, but here's the thing. We need your help. Unlike Mark Carney's trained SEALs in the mainstream media, we don't get a nickel worth of funding from the taxpayer trough, and nor would we ever accept it if it were offered. So please go to rebelfieldreports.com, rebelfieldreports.com, and if you're able to, kindly make a donation.